So if you've never lived on a boat before, you may wonder to yourself, how do you live out there? How do you have lights? How do you have pumps for your shower? How do you do all that stuff?
Take it out of the sink and you sit on your toilet and wash yourself. Like, that ain't my life. Okay, but that's all you guys can see in there. Don't get nosy into my fridge.
We're sailing good, bad, and ugly. 3 years ago, we bought our boat off Craigslist for $5,000. I'm Kristen, and this is Matt. We are known to break the rules and do things a little less traditional. Hit subscribe to join the adventure. Thanks to our patrons for keeping us going. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Sailing GBU. Today we're going to be doing a little different of an episode that we normally do. We normally jump right into our adventures and what we're doing for the week, but for a while we've been wanting to show our upgrades and we've been getting a lot of questions about what's our systems like? What's the boat tour? What kind of boat do you have? So today, we're gonna jump right into those.
So if you're new to our channel, here's a little bit of the backstory. Back in 2017, we were looking around on Craigslist for a boat and we saw an ad that said, steal this boat. So I went and had a look at this boat. It had some holes in the deck, like all the way through, and some blown out rigging, and I thought to myself, this is great. This boat will definitely be in my price range. Well, before we started our channel, we left, we cut the dock lines, and we took off with sails from the dumpster and no blue water experience whatsoever. But by the time we had sailed over 2,000 miles and made it to Puerto Rico, we realized that if our dream was to continue, if our journey was to keep going, we needed to take this a little bit more seriously and make some major upgrades to our boat. So that's what we're going to share with you guys today.
So one of the very first things I want to show you guys is our canvas work. We sailed all the way to the Dominican and we realized we're really lacking in that area. So we made a Dodger, or we got someone to help us make some stuff, and it all went bad. So I remade it again. So now I'm a professional. We have a nice new Dodger. It's newish this year too. No, how long has it been, Matt?
This year.
This year we made this. It's homemade. I watched one of those Sailrite videos. If you guys are familiar with there, they have a Sailrite YouTube and you can learn how to do all your boat canvas work there. But we got it and it snaps onto the boat. We like to unsnap it while we're at anchorage because it lets a breeze flow down into our companionway to cool down the boat. And then we also can unsnap it all and clip it up here to really let in the breeze of the boat. Another thing that we sewed ourselves with canvas is our stack pack. Before we had like just scraps of canvas that we tied up rope on, but this is actually not only better looking, but it's actually really useful. You unzip it, and we also added on lazy jacks, which is also part of it, which makes bringing down our sail so much easier. Without one of these, you bring down your sail when you're about to anchor and that thing goes all over the boat. It takes you forever to get it back on here and fold it up and all that. So this just catches it and helps us get our sail better stowed.
All right, another cool thing that we upgraded on our boat is our furling head sail. This thing's really great because one, you don't have a sail laying all over your deck like we had to put up with for years, but also it's easy to reef. Really simple to reef when you're going and keep you safe, keep you from knocking your sailboat all over when the wind gets crazy. And then because our boat is a cutter, it actually has another sail between this one and the main sail. What this allows you to do is put a smaller sail up. Instead of using that head sail that can catch a lot of wind, it lets you put up a smaller one here in the middle. And what's actually really convenient about this one is it's a self-tacking sail, which means you don't have to switch your sheets when you tack or when you jibe, when your sail goes to the other side. This one just does it automatically, so all you have to do is turn the wheel. Your main moves over, this one moves over, and everything's done hands-free, and it helps you, gives you less lines to handle. And with our main sail, we went with a free-footed main with full battens, full hard battens that run the entire length of the sail. think we have 5 battens in this particular sail, and what that helps us to do is it stiffens up the sail when we're going straight toward the wind, which we almost always sail upwind, and it makes it a really stiff sail, and it gives us a couple more degrees toward the wind, which I can say I'm really happy with this sail. We got it made by Precision Sails, and they did a great job. We've been flying with these new sails since we got them. So. All right, guys, so the next part of this boat tour, the next part of our boat is our electronics, all of the things that you need to head out to sea. And for that story, it's kind of a short one because we don't have any of them. We only have the phone, and what we do with the phone is we use our Navigational, which kind of tells us where everything goes, and we use Windy app, which kind of tells us how windy it's going to be, and some passage making apps, which tells us what the current and what the depth and things like that are going to be. But you kind of just have to trust it. Unfortunately, there are other tools and instruments on a boat, like a wind reader that tells you how fast the wind is and the direction that it's going, which I will tell you, as someone who's been sailing, you pretty much know what that's going to be. In my experience, you don't really need to know exactly what the wind is doing and exactly where the wind angle is, because you're going to be out there in it. Your sails are going to be telling you how much you can go to windward or how much you can fall off the wind. If you can't feel the difference between 20 and 30, I don't think any amount of instrumentation is going to help you. So you're going to know when it's really, really windy and you're needing to reef and do all that stuff. So maybe I feel as though we don't need it on our boat. And then predictions are always crazy as well. And also, we don't have a depth finder. Our depth finder is just, we don't have one on this boat. And I feel like that's kind of the same way too. You don't really need it as long as you're cautious. Those things are cool. We don't got them. You can get by without them, but maybe one day we'll get them. But this is what we use for now, and it's been serving us just fine.
We also don't have autopilot.
Oh yeah, we don't have autopilot either. So that basically, your autopilot, you're looking right here. This is what kind of goes back and forth. When you're sailing and the seas are a little bit more settled and you can balance the sails, you can tie a rope just to that cleat there, and the boat will kind of steer itself more or less, but it's a little more of a hands-on trick. So continuing on with our instruments, our electronics, our navigation equipment, we go bare minimum now just because we've been doing it for a couple years, so we feel more comfortable. But when we first started, we didn't know as much, so we did go a little more high-tech with our stuff, and we did go with the Iridium Go. This basically turns your cell phone or a laptop or anything like that into a satellite device. This was really good when we were in the out islands of the Bahamas, places where you couldn't get weather. We weren't sure what the infrastructure of these other countries was going to be, so this came in really, really handy. So we didn't always do it super ghetto. When we first started, we were just like everyone else, terrified.
No, we weren't. This was the only thing we spent money on.
Yeah, this was pretty much the only thing.
And it was a lot of money.
And it was a lot of money, and it was
subscription
to Predict Wind, which almost got us killed multiple times. But that's a whole nother story. But yeah, so that's pretty much the end of our electronics.
All right, welcome to our galley. It's pretty small, but it gets the job done. Now, like many things on a sailboat, you need to have a lot of A, B's, and C's. And for cooking, our A is our gimbaled stove. It's actually cut up from the top because it broke, and Matt put in a $15 camping stove on top. But it still works. It's been going for about a year. He just chopped it up and put it all in there. I don't even know how he did it, but he's a magician. Next we have is our grill outside. That is our plan B, and that's basically, I use that when I want to not cook and I make him cook. And then C is when everything goes to hell and our propane runs out, we have a cooktop that we plug in. It's like a one stovetop cooktop to the generator. That's if our propane runs out and we just need to get something going.
All right, guys, I know it's been a while since we've seen Kristen in the galley, and for those of you out there that want Bikini Kitchen to come back, you want to see her whipping and making some new meals, if we get 55,000 likes on this video, 55,000 likes, we'll do a Bikini Kitchen, and we'll make an extra special one. So all you boys out there saying, Bikini Kitchen, put your money where your mouth is, 55K, and we'll rip it.
That means a lot of sharing, guys. You got to share this video if you want to get to 55,000.
Share if you care. Go into all your burner accounts and give it a thumbs up. You know, that's just, if you want to see it, let's do it.
So now is about food storage. How do we keep a month's worth of food on this baby boat? Well, we have a couple cabinets here that we do food. Normally these would hold food, well this holds food. So these 3 hold food and condiments and stuff like that. These 2 are actually Matt's closet because I took the only closet. He doesn't need much stuff. He just has some swimsuits and a couple of shirts. So that's fun for him, right, Matt?
I think so. I just needed a couple pairs of drawers.
And then we also made a pantry. About a year ago, we decided we need to up our food storage area where we can see what we got, because when you have a sailboat, you can either put them down in those things and you lose cans. You can't keep your ideas of what you have, and then you go to make recipes and you think you have black beans or you think you have something and you go down there and you don't have it, and it's a big ordeal. So Matt created this pantry that we designed to go in the aft cabin against the wall, and now it holds all of our cans lined up kind of like a grocery store, and then we built a lip on it to make sure nothing flies out while we go sailing. Now if we get into a really bad sail, sometimes things will fly over. Like our last sail, we had rice fly over, but other than that, it's been really working well for us. In this corner used to be our navigational system, and we ended up living in a cooler for a couple years, and we decided let's upgrade to a cooler/freezer ice box. So we got one of those. If you've seen it in our previous video, it ended up not working for us. We built a whole cabinet to hold it up, and once we decided that wasn't working for us, we're gonna get a mini style fridge. So we had to knock all that out. So don't mind this, it needs to be, I guess, renovated. But we now have this fridge. It's a mini fridge, stand-up fridge, open side doors, and let me tell you, if you don't have one of these on your boat, you're not living your best life. When you have the open the counter and dig down in there, they work okay, but it's so hard to get anything. Everything gets stacked on top of each other, even when you try to organize it with different trays, and it's just not as nice as having a stand-up. Plus, the freezer works really well on this. I got ice cream in here. I got chocolates. Okay, but that's all you guys can see in there. Don't get nosy into my fridge. But let's just say I got frozen food on this boat now, which is a big upgrade for us.
So if you've never lived on a boat before, you may wonder to yourself, how do you live out there? How do you have lights? How do you have pumps for your shower? How do you do all that stuff? How do you have a fridge? Well, short answer, there's a couple different ways, but the way that we do it primarily is with solar. We have a pretty big solar farm, as some people call it, here on the top, the hard top of our Dodger.
That's really what they call it, a solar farm?
I think they call it a solar farm. Someone said, nice solar farm, and I said, oh, that's pretty nice, because we do harvest the solar.
Okay, sorry guys to interrupt, I was confused.
Anyway, we do that with 4 144-watt solar panels. This is the workhorse. This makes, on a sunny day, anywhere from 60 to 80 amps. So that lets us run a refrigerator, the pumps for our water. If it's really bright outside, we can run our water maker off of that, and it pretty much just runs everything. It keeps our batteries nice and full, and the way that this works is these big panels grab the sun, they pull it down, they push it down a wire, they go down to a small charge controller which figures out how much power it's going to push into the batteries, because you don't want to push too much if the sun's too bright, and then from there it goes into the batteries, and then from the batteries it goes into our inverter, which turns it into 110, so you can just plug in the radio, plug in the fridge, plug in the blender to make the margaritas, whatever you got to do, you can plug it in. So that's kind of how that works, and we get, I would say, 80 to 85% of our power through these panels here, and you know, works out pretty well. What these solar panels push the solar power into are our lithium batteries. We got lithium batteries from Battleborn, really cool batteries. What's cooler about them, or what's I guess different about them, is you can run them down really low and still bring them back. So you have a lot of power storage for those rainy days, for using higher power instruments like a vacuum or something like that. You have that extra stored power. And basically how this works is we have 4 100 amp hour batteries. So if we use 100 amps in a day, that's 25% of our entire bank. More or less, this will put anywhere from 60 to 80 amps back into a battery. So we try not to use much more than that if we don't have to. This pumps it up during the day, we use it during the night, and then this will usually pump it back up during the day, if it's nice and sunny. If it's not sunny, we have a backup plan for that too. All right, and for those days or those weeks where we're not producing a lot of sun, we fall back on our little Hardy boy here. This is one thing that I'll say every single boat should have. This thing is an absolute beast. It's 3.5 years old, still starts on like the first pull 90% of the time. This thing is awesome. So to give you a quick breakdown of the difference between even my solar farm, which is pretty big, I have a good amount of panels on there, versus something like this, is what would take me all day to make 80 amps with my panels, even on a bright sunny day, this will make that in 1 hour. So this will make that for like maybe a cup full of gasoline, and it comes in really, really handy that way. The way that this thing works, it has a small gas tank in here. It's a 1 gallon capacity, and this thing will run for about 5 or 6 hours on that 1 gallon. So you'd have to figure out exactly what you need. But if you were like really hurting and you wanted to run an AC or something really big, you could run it off of this and just use a couple gallons of gas. And it's not terribly loud. As you can see, obviously it's on my lap. It's not that big. This thing is awesome. For secondary power, this comes in really handy. Or if it's really shady out and you want to run your water maker or something heavier like that, a big pump, that's what this thing comes in handy for, and it works out really great. I can't tell you how many times this thing has saved our lives.
Welcome to the bathroom. Yes, I'm sitting on my toilet. The lid is shut, so I'm not actually using the toilet. But we have recently upgraded our manual toilet to an electric Jabisco toilet, and I don't think I could ever live with a manual toilet ever again. The manual one, you have to flip a switch, pump and let the water in, pump and let the waste, I'll say waste, go, and it's just, you can't do anything with it. They always break down, and toilets that are breaking down is probably the worst thing about boat life. So we got this electric toilet, and it has changed our lives. Everything just goes easily into where it needs to go. Zam! I don't know why I'm saying all that. Anyways, next, we're on to the shower. One of the things I love about this boat is that we actually have a stand-up shower. I think it's called a dry head, where you can shower and your toilet area stays dry, but you can shower in there. I don't think I could live on a boat that doesn't have one. The other ones have like the take it out of the sink and you sit on your toilet and wash yourself. Like, that ain't my life. But if you have one of those, don't take offense. Anyways, so we have this here shower, and you can just go in there and take a normal shower. So there's nothing weird about that. But we only have cold water. So a lot of people probably think we're out here taking hot showers, but since we've gotten this boat, we can't. Our engine, alternator, that whole system doesn't work, so we don't have a hot water heater, but I've grown to really like cold showers. It helps me in the morning because I work out. I force myself to work out, so I get really hot, and then I take my cold shower. So it's a win-win. I'm getting the workout, and we never have any problems with the cold shower, except if it gets cold out, like the winter. Luckily, we're in the Caribbean, and it doesn't ever get cold in the winter, but if it does, you just have to warm up a pot, put it in a pressurized thing, and shower with that. But we haven't had to do that since we've been in Puerto Rico.
So one crazy thing about this toilet though is with the macerator pump that chews everything up before it goes in your holding tank, is it is a little bit loud. So here, listen to that real quick.
Okay.
It's a little bit loud.
I would take that any day than
yeah,
having
it's
a
still
manual
better
toilet.
than the pump. If you have a pump toilet, get rid of it, get the manual. It's not cheap, but it's definitely worth it. So, as most of you well know, one of the most important things when you're out sailing is water. How to get it, how to keep it, how to use it properly. So we have backups on backups for this boat, ways to get water. First and foremost, we have our water maker. That thing's awesome. It runs 30 gallons per minute. You can pull it right out of the ocean. It takes the salt water and then it turns it into fresh water. I always keep an extra jug whenever I make the water for if we run out or something crazy happens or I want to clean the deck. Also, these are great if the water maker breaks. You can fill these up with water and store them. Just go to the beach, go to any park, go anywhere with a spigot, and you can fill these bad boys up. And then our other option is catching the rainwater. That's where our roof comes in handy. This big thing catches tons of rain, and I made some mods for it so that it catches quite a bit and it funnels it into a bucket for me. If you haven't seen our previous videos about our water maker, we went with the Rainman 30 gallons per hour high output unit. It's a portable model. The reason we went for that is because it's lightweight. You can move it all around wherever you need it. It doesn't take up like a certain amount of space in the boat. And two, it makes a ton of water. That thing's awesome. It's easy to plug in. It runs off AC. And we can run it straight off of our batteries and all that stuff. So it's definitely was like a life-changing moment when we got that thing. The way we store it on this boat is we have a 35-gallon tank underneath our couch inside, and 35 gallons lasts us, not saving really any at all, using it pretty liberally, lasts us 4 or 5 days. So that's showers, dishes, all that fun stuff, and it's a lot of water. All right, so one of the really important systems full-time live aboard is your dingus. All right, our dingus is a high field 9.5 ultralight model. This thing's a beast. It's really light. It doesn't take up that much room, and it flies. This thing's a tank. There's a whole video about the high field if you want to learn more about that. I'm sure Kristen will probably link it below. But one of the things that's kind of unique to us with only a 37-foot boat, our boat's under 40 feet. Normally they don't have these big 15 horsepower motors. But when your engine is as bad as ours is, sometimes to get in and out of bays, you want to use the whole dinghy to push this boat, and it's actually pretty G. I can just get behind and bumper boat this, and I can move this boat along at like 4 knots. So it comes in really, really handy. So this bigger motor and a really solid rigid hull has worked out really well for us, and super happy with the way that our dingus has always worked.
Alright guys, so that's pretty much all of our systems that I can think of. If we're missing something, make sure you leave a comment down below. Can you think of anything we missed?
I can't think of anything we missed, but we usually are pretty good about getting to comments, so if you have an extra question, let me know and I'll do my best to get to it. But yeah, basically it's just a simple breakdown of, we all have kind of different questions and different ideas in our brain when we set off to adventure and live this life. But you know, sometimes it ain't easy to live out here. Coming from where we came from with pretty much nothing on this boat, to now we're starting to slowly build the steps to having kind of a normal life, something more like you'd have on land. You know, plenty of water, better electric, good fridge. These are things that go a long way to just make you feel human. And I felt like an animal when I was living out of that cooler for a while.
You looked like one. Anyways.
Heard that. Wish I didn't, but I did.
Anyways, guys, make sure you hit subscribe. I guess make sure you hit that thumbs up button if you want to see Bikini Kitchen. I don't think 55,000 is really in our wheelhouse, but
could happen.
It could happen. So give us a go, give us a share, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.